the legacy continues. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the 46th Daytona 500.
It is now my honor to present the NASCAR Hall of Fame inductee ring and officially induct my husband, Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Sports. It's in the game.
Nothing that racing has given me will ever top this night. The people enshrined in this building, they're my role models and they're my heroes, and one of them happens to be my father. So to join Dad in the Hall of Fame is probably as good as it's ever going to get.
Well, I'd rather outrun him, but
it's a great sport. I love it to death, you know.
that's all I ever thought about was race cars.
That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
Very sad, somber
EA
kickstart.
Sports. It's in the game.
I didn't think it was sad.
think it was?
It's kind of emotional.
Well, the
emotional.
music was like, boom,
Right. It wasn't, it wasn't Back in Black, or it wasn't, Thunderstruck or nothing.
It wasn't very high energy for our first episode back. Season 10.
Matthew brought in the heartstring piano. Yeah, it's season 10.
Yeah.
It's 10.
10.
Yes,
You got it. You
I
got
like
the reference.
it.
All right.
It's a 10.
Yeah.
Miss Davis, you go to prom with me.
All right, guys, we're here at the Bojangles Studio. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mike Davis, Matthew's here, Leah's here. Everybody is back again for a new season.
We're just about ready
Dale
to
Jr.
kick off
download.
another
Super
year
excited.
of NFL football.
Today's guest,
Thanks for being here
Greg
to
Farmer.
enjoy
So,
today's
you
season
heard some of that
opening
Hall of Fame
game
speech.
as the
He gave a great
Seahawks
speech himself.
square
Hall of
off
Fame.
against
A lot
the
of great
Patriots.
details and
Let's
stories
go to
we thought,
midfield
man,
for the coin
while
toss.
we're here, why don't we go ahead and see if we can book our first guest? So,
You did it right on the stage.
that's right. That's probably the best way to book a guest.
I mean, you just go ahead, work a couple seconds into the Hall of Fame speech. Go ahead and knock out a few guest targets. Go ahead and plant some
teams are
seeds.
taking
Got them
the
all
feet.
in the same room. A lot of
you
Hall
got
of
them all
Famers.
there. Right.
It's a shame we didn't try to get more booked.
Well,
That'd have been a moment to do
you'll
it.
go back to next year's Hall of Fame. They'll think you're there because you're part of the hall.
Yeah.
You are, but you're there
I
to
guess
go
I should
book some
I
guests.
can bring
Number
Matthew
3 is
plus
just
one.
about ready to kick this one away.
Maybe about 20 guests.
Dude, I love this idea.
So
And he got all of that.
anyhow,
on a great
we
day.
have a break in the winter time that we begrudgingly take. Some of
So the
us
offense
are
sets
happy to
up
have a
for its
break,
first
and
drive of the
then
game.
some of
All
us
on
would
their
rather
own
continue the
28
podcast. We get
Shift
some of
their
the great
sets so they
momentum
can pack
going.
the line.
By the end of the year, we're hitting on all cylinders. It's just the same way that
Back
happens with
handoff.
broadcast booth.
Number
We start
95
out,
is there
and
for
we
the
take over at
tackle
NBC,
at the
much like here at this desk. It's like we've never done it before. We don't remember, being in sync, and everything's kind of clunky. And then by the end of the season, you're really running pretty good, and things are working well, and then you have to stop and pause. But we're back. It's exciting to be back. We got some new mics, which I'm happy about, some new arms. What do you call these things? I forget what you boom.
That's it.
Right?
No, they're mic arms.
Mic arms.
Yeah.
Well, we had some crappy ones. God,
I don't think we let people understand how
those things were
problematic those things were every week. I mean, every week we bitched about it.
They were frustrating, but now we've got some really nice ones. And a couple other cool things are happening this year in terms of how we're going to use this studio, and I think it's really going to benefit us. But looking forward to it. We got already, this is the first year that we've had guests booked so far out. Am I right? I mean, not to say that the way we were doing it was wrong. I'm just saying we really proactively got a bunch of guests in the can and already starting to go after some more. So that's going to make things a lot easier, and we've got some exciting ones coming up. So, anyways, Red Farmer is going to be in here later. And we got his career. How many years? 70-something?
Since 1948.
Yeah. So he's been racing a long time. I ain't going to do the math. But I think we got plenty of time here. And he's been in town for a couple days.
He got here yesterday.
Okay. Be prepared.
If it's anything like his speech, I mean, the dude came with some things to say. I love the fact that in his speech, we were there for rehearsal because you were doing it, and they told him he had a time limit, and he said, yeah, that ain't happening.
Well, all right, so they had the Clash at the Coliseum in L.A. this past weekend. I got the chance to go in Friday. I got the chance to get into Alex Bowman's car and run a few laps around the racetrack.
He's waving for the fair
we were
catch.
filming a little skit that you'll see if you tune into the pregame Super Bowl show. You may see me and Rutledge bouncing around L.A. to some of the different places. I've yet to really learn where we're going to go, but one of the things that you'll see is us running this little mock race around the racetrack. There'd been no race cars on the track up at this point, so the surface was slick as hell. Right? And we had on setup tires, so we didn't have good tires on or anything. Cars were an absolute handful. But anyways, two drivers. There was four of us: me, Chase, Bubba, and Blaney. And we were basically racing to see who would win the Super Bowl. All right, so it was a predictor. Two of us were racing for the Rams and two racing for the Bengals, and you'll see how it all works out. But it was just kind of they weren't supposed to go real fast because they really weren't supposed to get lap time before anyone else, so it was a little bit unfavorable. Luckily, none of those guys won, so nobody can complain that they had an unfair advantage. But it was neat to drive the racetrack. It's really, really tight, really narrow, and you saw a lot of bumping and banging, and kind of that's really almost the only way to get around somebody. You can pass somebody clean, but it would take a lot faster race car. I think that I watched it on TV. I went back home and watched it from the house. I imagine that in person, the energy and everything was everything they hoped it would be, and you can only obviously feel that when you're there. The broadcast does the best job it can to try to make you feel like you're there, but you'll never feel what the people that are present are feeling. You'll never everybody at the racetrack sort of vibes off of the energy from the crowd, the reaction that the crowd has to the racing, and all that's happening. You do not really get a sense of what's going on with that when you're sitting on your couch at home. So I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. The last chance races, the second one got super rough. Ty Dillon was bowling for dollars. He went through a few guys, but everybody did. At the end of that race, everybody was sort of guilty to some extent of going for it. But they had to. That's why it's called the last chance race. Unfortunately, we didn't get that type of end at the end of the Clash. They ran, I think, the last 25 laps or so under green. Kyle Busch couldn't catch Joey, and Joey wins the race. I was hoping for some fireworks at the end.
Game.
We didn't really get those, but that's okay.
Okay.
Some races are just gonna be straight up races. Anyway, I thought it was a good thing. I thought it was a good thing. I'm still sort of sifting through where I really land on how I feel about that, and as an exhibition, it's perfect.
This is a good one,
right?
Paul.
Do you want that sprinkled throughout your regular season? Do you want that playing a role in the playoffs? Those are the things that you need to start asking yourself, because when NASCAR sees something succeed, they typically get you a lot of it.
Good,
right?
Well, if it means short tracks, let's do it.
No, I'm saying if it doesn't mean we're going to South Boston. It I don't think it means that.
It may mean go.
It may mean you might be racing at tiny little quarter-mile homemade tracks, you know.
Okay.
Right?
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah. I just wonder where this takes us, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any of us really know. I said it on Twitter with a tweet. Does it create a short track revival in a sense to where we have some more short tracks added to the schedule, or we go back to some old short tracks that we used to go to, or is there a new track that gets built, right? Do they go forward with the reconfigure at Fontana? There's a lot of issues with that. It's a very difficult thing to do, to be able to reconfigure that track, so they're trying to turn Fontana into a short track, right? The way that they need to do that is basically try to fit that track in between the suites behind pit wall and using part of the front stretch as that you currently have. So that's a very confined space. The idea before the Coliseum was that this was maybe not doable without moving the suites or knocking the suites down. Well, now that they've seen the clash, that might sort of, make them feel like they can accomplish a goal and fit it into a difficult space.
That was a quarter-mile track. That space in Fontana can't be smaller than that.
Yes.
They raced well on the quarter-mile track.
Yeah. And so imagine what you had at the Coliseum with some banking, right, with quite a bit of banking. So I think, it's going to be interesting to see where we are 5 or 10 years from now.
I understand.
And what's changed in the sport because what you can link back to what happened at the Clash. I think it could affect a lot of things going forward. Hopefully we do see some more short tracks. I mean, we know we love short track racing. We know we love beating and banging. We know these cars can take it. They can rub. They can lean on each other without getting flat tires and all the things. So, hopefully we see some more short tracks added to the schedule. But if you add one thing, you got to take something away. And I don't really know how I don't know what they would start with as far as eliminating races. You can't make the season longer. But it's a great position, I guess, a difficult position, but a good position to be in as a sport. So I assume that they're absolutely going to go back there next year to do this all again.
I would hope so, but I want it to stay special. Like it seemed like it was a special event. It had the attention from mainstream, and man, you'd love to keep it that way. There was two things. Speaking of short track, there's two things about this that took away that I like. And the short track quarter-mile layout contributed to this, and that was there was credibility in the final feature. The people that made that race were the ones that belonged there. You didn't get in on sponsor. You didn't get in on name. You didn't get in on any points. You got in because you earned the spot for the final thing. And that is a new thing because typically NASCAR wants its stars, especially when you're doing a primetime network. You want your stars in the show.
I agree.
But this one had Ryan Preece and not Brad Keselowski. This one did not have, Kurt Busch. It did not have Alex Bowman. And that's a big deal. Now, the other thing I like about it is, man, I felt like I got to watch an entire entertaining event, and it was under 2 hours, and I didn't have to ignore my family, and I didn't have to carve out half a day to go through this marathon. If I wanted the marathon, I had the option to watch the qualifying races, the heat races. So I could have had as much racing as I wanted, but the event plus the pre-race and the halftime thing with Ice Cube, which I love, everything was in a nice, tight, clean 2 hour window. I could move on with my life. I love those two things about that race.
To go back to one of your points about the heat races and guys, there being this elimination factor and desperation and build up throughout the heats and then into the last chance races. I love that too, and we haven't had that in a long time. So NASCAR, years ago had a pretty straightforward, you're in this race because you did this, right? Let's just take the Clash, for example, but this is sort of a global way of operation that NASCAR is taking, the stance that NASCAR is taking. Years ago, you had to get a pole to get into the Clash.
Yep.
If you didn't get a pole, that was pretty much the criteria, right? And then the Busch sponsorship went away. Actually, other sponsors came in, and they wanted to create a new identity. And also, a lot more collaboration started happening with owners, sponsors, and everybody else. And so NASCAR started becoming really malleable to the requests and the needs of owners and sponsors. I need my car in this race.
Right. Sponsors particularly.
We got to be in this race.
If we're paying money, I need to be in the race. I need to be on TV.
Right. And so the criteria to be able to get into the Clash, for example, really became wide open. I mean, if you had a valid driver's license, you were eligible. Right. That was kind of the going joke, which was super frustrating.
Yeah.
Right? And because the race lost its identity, it became unimportant.
Yeah, he did a great job.
That's why it's not in Daytona anymore.
Right.
And that's why really what we have at the Coliseum this past weekend is a completely new thing. But somehow they were able to gain back some of that identity by going through these heat races and last chance races. And guys really being put in the position to miss the race or not make it, right? That is why I tuned in.
Yes, I did too. I mean, like,
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't really even – I enjoyed the heat races and the last chance races more than the race itself, than the feature, because of the fact that, man, this guy might not make – oh, look, Denny's car's almost wrecked in the last chance race, and both his guys almost got eliminated right there in one corner. Like you make, Brad not making it, things like that. That was why I tuned in.
There was purpose in every lap. Every lap meant something because you knew that there were going to be big names not making the feature. And it made it awesome. I mean, like, that's okay. In the short track, the quarter-mile layout forced that. It forced it because you can't put them all out there at once. It forced them to have the heat races. It forced them to be able to limit the field to 23. So somebody has to go home. And man, then you got these, these young guys like Rick Ware Racing all of a sudden has speed, and you got some guys that have been Justin Haley, is doing stuff out there, and it's like, you know what? I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. You got to earn your way into this thing. There's no gimmies. There's no gimmicks.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite part. I almost made a comment on social media about that being my favorite part of it, but I probably typed about 4 or 5 tweets that I never sent that day.
Well, give us some.
No, I mean, that's every day with me on social media. But, hopefully somebody understands that the fact that people could miss or could not make this feature, and hopefully they understand how valuable that is to the audience, right? To a person that's watching, tuning in. Because if that wasn't there, I might have considered doing something else with my day. The entire day. I might have probably checked in a day later to get the highlights, right?
Easy enough.
Yep. But the fact that there was some true something substantial on the line, and the pride, I know the pride and the egos of the drivers, the owners, the teams, and you do not want to get knocked out. You don't want to miss the playoffs. You don't want to be eliminated, from being able to race in a race like this. You want to be in the All-Star race. You don't want to be in the Open, trying to work your way in. It hurts your pride, right? And when there was some pride at stake, that's what got me tuned in. Because I probably would have tuned out.
For encroachment.
Unintentionally, but hopefully they hang on to that, because that was what was missing in this race for over a decade. Anyways, bravo to everybody in NASCAR for having the guts to do that. They spent a lot of money. They took a gamble. They brought in all the heavy hitters. Not just the race, you mentioned Ice Cube. They really went all out trying to really make this a unique event, and they succeeded. And so they ought to be celebrated. All of the teams were going out there. We got this part. There was so much that a lot of people had to do. We got, we got cars that teams with just a few cars, and they had to take one out there, risk tearing them up, and they tore up some cars.
Yeah.
All of the NASCAR industry insiders, social media people. Think about the logistics of an event like that, from every single person from the bottom to the top in the industry that had to do the legwork to get that done, to make sure that everybody had their passes, that everybody had their hotel rooms, rental cars, garage was laid out the way it needed to be, cars could move in and around. I mean, what a mess, right? And it came off really, really well in an unfamiliar space. This isn't a racetrack that we go to every single year. Nobody knows where the flow of anything is, right? And it went off and worked out well. There were some issues during the broadcast to be expected with audio and so forth. I thought the broadcast was great. I thought Tony Stewart was great.
Well, wasn't he good?
Yeah, I didn't think he wouldn't be good. I mean, he was what I expected Tony Stewart to be. And I think one of the things about him is, and I know this for myself, he was great, and he will only get better as he gets more and more comfortable and feels, understands the lingo and the words that the producer's saying in his ear. I mean, they have a whole different language they speak in the broadcasting world, and so all these things that you're hearing, you're like, what the hell does that mean? Once he starts to understand exactly where the broadcast is going every minute and what they're trying to accomplish, and when he's got some great room to expand on his thoughts, man, the confidence that he'll build. I mean, just in a short period of time, I expect him to be miles better when he goes to Daytona, right? And does that. And I think that the positivity that he receives from all this will encourage him to do more and become a fixture in the booth going forward. So, pretty cool deal there. You know how I feel about the broadcast and how important that is to be able to grow and elevate our sport. It carries a major role. So they did a good job there. But anyhow, what else are we missing? Oh, High Rock Vodka, man. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew. If you haven't been following me on social media, I got I'm an equity partner in a new brand called High Rock, and it's a vodka that is made through Sugarlands in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Me and Amy are owners in this business. Much like I'm an owner in Filter Time, this is one of our babies. Right? This is something we're trying to grow for not only myself and Amy, but our generations beyond, our daughters and their families and everything going forward. So I hope that in the spring it's supposed to be available in stores. This is all new to me. This is all new to Amy. We're trying to understand the market and what's doable out of the gate. It's really difficult. We've been here before. Trying to get shelf space is a challenge, and it's a competition out there. But we're with a great company in Sugarlands, and they already have a lot of great products out there, so they already have a great reputation. So that should help us going forward. All that stuff's starting to roll out in the spring, and you can get it from Sugarlands in Gatlinburg in a week or two. Like you can get it from there right away, but getting it into shelves is going to take most of the spring and some of the summer. So keep an eye out. We'll be sharing our information about where it's at and how to what stores it's in and so forth on our social media. I'll be posting a lot about that. So High Rock Vodka.
Here's what I'll say about High Rock. I never consider myself a vodka drinker. I got my favorite stuff, and vodka was never really it. My gosh, man, did we put High Rock through its paces for that Hall of Fame party? God, I drank a lot of it. It's smooth, man. It's really good. It's just good.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that. I'm telling you, I drank enough of it. I'm an expert on this now, and I drank enough of it on that Dwight Yoakam concert to know that it's legit, man.
I used to drink vodka a lot when I was younger, and then when we got the Bud deal, we kind of moved into beer and became a big fan of all the Bud products. But it was easy for me to get into this because of because I drank vodka a lot when I was younger, with energy drinks or with AMP or with orange juice or whatever. So my dad was a big he liked vodka and Five Alive. Orange juice.
Is that right?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
He drank a lot of vodka.
A little intimidator factoid nobody knew.
I've said that before, but every day at the farm at 5 o'clock, all the guys would get together around the picnic table and they drink beer or whatever. He had a jar of vodka and some Five Alive always in the fridge, and that was something he might do. Anyway, High Rock is it is smooth. I'm pretty confident in it. I'm pretty confident that even vodka drinkers are going to appreciate it and think it's a quality product. So I'm not even apprehensive about that. I'm pretty confident we're going to have a lot of success, and especially with Sugarlands. I mean, they win awards with everything they do. So we partnered with a great company to help us get this out there. High Rock Vodka. Anyways, I mentioned Filter Time. If you need some air filters sent to your house, subscribe. FilterTime.com. Speaking of new things, there's a new podcast in the Dirty Mo Media family. You might have seen follow any of our social media handles,
this defense here.
some of the
Ball on
promotions
their own
around it, the
13.
Burton Continuum.
England
So
crams
what
the
is the
line of
Burton
scrimmage
Continuum?
with
Let me
defenders.
tell you. We've got Jeff Burton, Ward Burton, and their sons Jeb and Harrison Burton, all talking about their shared experiences. I'm really surprised by how transparent and honest these conversations are. I know Jeff, and I know he is measured and strategic in his conversations, right? And now Ward, he has nothing to lose, right? He's going to throw it all out there. The boys obviously are in the midst of their careers. I think they're in two different spectrums right now as far as their careers go between Jeb and Harrison. So maybe they have different opinions about it, but they do have some risks by being completely honest about anything, right? But they really shed all of those, those guards and tear down those walls and get brutal about the history of this family, the problems that racing, egos, pride, jealousy, all those things have sort of created an ebb and flow of the relationships from going from good to bad, right? And back to good.
We'll go back to
So
this punt.
I was pretty surprised to hear the brothers Ward and Jeff dig up some of the past. Especially with Jeff being, I think him and Ward, right, being apprehensive about accepting some responsibility or really calling out the other. But they went there, man, and it was pretty amazing. And obviously, hearing the boys, the sons, Jeb and Harrison, be completely frank about their own experiences and how emotional some of this has been for them, it's a hell of a listen.
The Seahawks line up in a 4-3.
The boldest, most transparent podcast series ever produced by Dirty Mo Media.
Drop in the backfield for a short loss.
The Burton Continuum is unlike anything you have ever heard before. We take a candid look into the lives of second-generation racing cousins, Jeb and Harrison Burton, as they try to excel in NASCAR the way their fathers, Jeff and Ward, did. Learn about the emotional toll families competing against each other experience, and hear the gripping stories this family openly shares about hardship, tension, and triumph. Here's a preview from the latest episode, Drove Us Apart.
Only one man going to the air on first down.
You have to understand, like the way I race,
Can't complete that short pass,
and I'm not
and it's
always
second
proud
down.
of this, but everything came second.
Powered up between the tackles a time or two.
I have few regrets in my career, but I have some disappointments.
Right front tire. Jeff Burton. This is not good. No. Came in as the championship leader.
Yeah, I mean, this pretty much does it for us, unfortunately.
He finds his man. The 30, the 20.
And I cried that night. I did. I cried because it was.
I'll tell you, this is nice work by both the quarterback
really
and the receiver in this play.
We were going to
Watch
win
it
that
here.
championship.
He reads the coverage, looks for the best option.
Most of
and then
my
throws it
life
to him.
was the tail end of his career. Those were kind of the years where he was struggling the most. And he always wanted to win and he wanted to go out on top, and it just didn't happen. And that was why it was so sad.
The Burton Continuum. The first 4 episodes are out now on all major podcast platforms.
So episode 5 drops this week, and it's an episodic podcast. So what does that mean, Mike? It's how many episodes?
There's a start and end. We're going to do a 10-episode run, or maybe a little bit more, depending on how the story develops. Right now we're in the point of kind of telling the backstory of Ward and Jeff, so we could better understand Harrison and Jeb and the struggles and the things that they have to deal with right now, hurdles as they compete, and also have to get along and their family. So I think it's important that you understand where all this stuff sourced from, and that's Jeff and Ward as they were coming up through racing. Polar opposites, these guys. But yet, both of them have absolutely brought the noise in their honesty and transparency, flaws and all. And that's the thing that we said that I needed them to do is like, hey, just be honest, And they had to take a bit of a leap of faith with us on how we tell the story. But Alex Timms has done a remarkable job. I want to say this. Ward Burton calls me last night. He heard, we let him hear the episode which will drop tomorrow, Wednesday, February 9th. And this episode is really Ward-focused, right? His backstory. And Ward told me last night, he goes, I don't think that anything's ever been done on my career or my family quite like this. He goes, this has been the best thing that has ever been done on our family. And after, man, that meant a lot to me. And Jeff said the same thing after episode 4. Jeff called me. You know, he's like, man, I can't believe all the reaction people are giving. I mean, we're getting tons of engagement. This is really cool. And y'all did a great job. And I said, Jeff, listen, your wife, Kim, she brings it. I mean, Kim sits there and talks about how pissed off she was at Jeff after he retired. I mean, come on. This is couples therapy going on right here on a podcast. And so I appreciate them for trusting us with the story, but also bringing it. And yeah, man, this is episode 5. We're going to have a lot more. Ward's going to, I'm going to tell you something, Dale. Wait till you hear the Ward episode tomorrow. I mean, dude, as you would expect, he brings the high heat.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing going in racing podcasts, and I like that you can, if you want to, listen to it once we have it all released. You can basically live this thing and listen to it in a chunk. It's a story, almost a mini series in a way. I really appreciate it being presented that way, and I think other people will too as well. So you can sit down and consume this whole thing. It's pretty amazing. So I'm looking forward to people's reactions as we continue to go through this. I applaud you, Mike, and Dirty Mo Media for coming up with the idea and the vision. And it just could open up a lot of doors. A lot of people in the industry, drivers included, mainly drivers, should really look at this podcast, listen to it, see how the engagement is created with their fans and people that follow Jeff and Ward and the boys, Harrison and Jeb, and consider how creating content like this could really elevate their own careers and share with people some true, the true person that they are. It's pretty incredible. So I agree. I don't think I've ever heard Jeff be this way. I've been around him in the booth for a couple years now, and I think I've gotten to know him about as good as I could consider it. But I was pretty surprised that they were willing to do this, willing to sit down and have these honest conversations. So
this one is handled by number 84.
It's interesting. You got Jeff watching his son break into the Cup Series. This is like a crazy year for him as a father. And so for him to sit down and be willing to really open up in a very vulnerable time of Harrison's career. Plus Harrison put himself out there in his rookie year. This is he could have, in his situation, decided to just let his drive and do the talking for him this year, and really shut out a lot of extra activity and so forth, and narrow his focus. But I think doing this podcast is going to benefit them. We're lucky for him to do it.
Ball on the 36-yard line.
The Dale Jr. Download is brought to you by HelloFresh. By the way, I had a HelloFresh meal just last night. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. With HelloFresh, you get farm, fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. So you can skip those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it is America's #1 meal kit. In North Carolina, it's cold outside, so warm yourself up from the inside out with limited-time recipes inspired by cozy classics from around the world, like beef tenderloin and cheese fondue, or miso sesame shrimp and bacon ramen. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yeah, you got it.
HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need to easily customize your order online or in the app. Easily change your delivery day, food preferences, and plan size, or skip a week whenever you need to. Groceries are getting expensive these days, right, guys? HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality. And you can save, on average, over $65 per month when you order HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. That's money back in your pocket. I'm going to tell you, Matthew, I had a HelloFresh meal last night. My whole family did. It feeds a family of 4 with plenty left over. I mean, it was a lot of food. And we had this amazing grilled chicken. It had these potatoes that were they were the favorite of my kids. The green beans were fantastic. So I'd never done this before. So basically, it comes with a cooking guide, like a sheet that just shows you all the ingredients, but it also gives you some tips on how to meal prep. and also how to maybe prepare or some new things to try. And my wife loved that. She wanted me to make sure I said, that is awesome. The meal tips. My goodness, it was so good. By the way, took the low-calorie option because, look at me. I need the help I can get. They got the low-calorie option. It was fantastic. So that's HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com/DALEJR16. That's Dale Jr. 16. And use code Dale Jr. 16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 gifts. You heard it right. That's HelloFresh.com/Dale Jr. 16. Use the code Dale Jr. 16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
So we mentioned Red Farmers. Our guest today is going to be coming here in a moment. Me and Red both got inducted into the Hall of Fame. That was an incredible experience. Also, Mike Stefanik was inducted into the Hall of Fame. His wife gave an awesome speech. That was an incredible weekend. I had just an amazing time. And it's hard to keep the stops. It was a long time coming because we kind of got pushed off because of the pandemic, and we had to wait. And I'm glad they did. I'm glad the Hall of Fame didn't decide to do something virtual. That would have not been fun. It wouldn't have been as fun. And so, thankfully, they waited. That meant that future Hall of Fame classes had to also wait. People that are anxious or excited about themselves or their family members.
Receives the handoff.
But now they got the ball rolling again, and look forward to being a part of those experiences going forward. So when I was going through this weekend, right, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, I go to the dinners and things, the jacket ceremony and all this. Other Hall of Famers are there that have been inducted. Sure, we should have expected that, right? But it dawned on me, it's like, man, I can be them going forward. I get to do what they're doing. I get to be at these events and just come and hang out, right? And that to me is going to be a lot of fun because I love seeing Hall of Famers, right? I never see Bobby Allison. I never see any of these, Red Farmer and all these, I never see any of these people because they're never in the same place I'm at. And so every year we're all going to kind of be brought back together. There's a dinner that was a lot of fun where we sit around and just tell a lot of great stories. I told Amy, I said, listen, look around. We're going to be doing this. This is going to be a living thing on our calendar every single year. We're coming to these events. We're going to continue to come to them to help, bring in new inductees and celebrate them.
It's on its way.
And she's like, I'm all for it. I said, all right, just be ready. It's going to be on the calendar year after year. When Hall of Fame rolls around, that's going to be part of our lives, part of what we do. And so I'm thrilled about that. It's kind of the gift that keeps on giving type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
New England comes
did the overall 3-day experience, did it exceed, meet expectations? It exceeded. How so?
So it was spread out over multiple days, and to me, you just kind of wonder, what could we be doing, right, for 3 days that we couldn't. Why is all of this spread out over 3 days? So, and it makes total sense why you're going through it. They had the jacket ceremony, and they have this dinner where a lot of industry people and some Hall of Famers are all around it and involved in it, and all of this happens in the Hall of Fame around your exhibits. When something of that magnitude really is happening to you, if it happens in a blink of an eye, or if it happens in a very short period of time, it's hard for the sponge to soak up all the water. And it's over and done, and you really don't even know what happened to it. The way they have it spread out and the way it's it allows it to sink in. It allows you to absorb what's happening to you. It allows you to enjoy it. There's moments of downtime to reflect. There's moments to where they'll take you into a room full of fans and do a Q&A where you get to really engage and talk about memories and what the fans are sparking some memories and reflection. You'll be around very important people in the industry that you probably look up to that are going to be sharing their excitement for what's happening in your life. And so for it to be spread out the way it is really a great thing. And by the end, I felt fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Instead of feeling like, oh man, instead of coming out of there going, man, I should have enjoyed that more. Right? I won a race in Texas, my first race, and my dad said, make sure you enjoy this. Like it was one of the first things he said to me when he got in the car.
He really
and it kind of struck
well
me as
he
like,
gets some great blocks, and he has patience as he picks up the first down.
So your first thought is to give me some advice?
The backs are lined
But
up in an
I know
I.
what he meant. He's looking at me going, this is going to be a blur.
Carter
Right?
comes up
You're
to
going to wake
make
up
the
tomorrow and
play.
what the hell happened.
At the 35-yard
So he was
line.
trying to give me some
Look at that
advice in the moment,
defense
and I
over
understand
there.
it today.
You own these
And that's
guys,
kind of the
you
same
just
thing.
execute.
It's a great experience. And hell yes to the Hall of Fame. You know, they do their staff, it matters to them so much. All the people that work at the Hall of Fame, they're not there for a job. They're not there just getting a paycheck.
yards a carry.
They
There are a lot
are
of things that go into a
passionate
successful
about
running game.
you,
gotta have good
about the
play calling, good
inductee,
blocking up
about
front,
the
and a
building,
back that can
about
take
everything that's
advantage
in
when
it,
he sees
about
the
the
opening.
story that's telling. They live it.
Off to the fullback. They're going
It's
to spot this one
freaking
at
amazing.
the 40-yard
And so
line. So he continues to make
you're
tackles,
feeling
and the
that
count
while
is
you're going
now
through this
at
process.
11.
You're like,
The
man,
third
this
down
matters
run
to
comes
these
up
people.
short, so we
They
should
are
see a
making
punt
this
here.
up to be a
Number
big
13
thing,
is
right?
ready to punt
They are
this one
building
away.
this up.
Harrison
And
looks like he's ready
every
for the return.
every part of the process, every 15-minute conversation with fans,
Won't take a
every
chance
dinner,
trying to
every
return this
jacket
one.
ceremony, all of it is very thought out. It's well done. They do a hell of a job. So I've been to these events, right? But I haven't lived it as an
Just their
inductee.
set so they can
And
pack the
so I
line.
never really saw this sort of living passion that
lone
they
back.
have that's there every minute. And so I know I'm building it up, but it's honestly, you have to go through it to see what I saw. You know, it's pretty cool. I'm glad it happened to me.
You should stop him with this play.
I feel lucky to have been able to witness what I saw that weekend, what I felt. It was great.
I'm glad to hear you say it, and a lot of that's well said. You saw the heart behind the Hall of Fame, and I think that matters. A couple snapshots that I'll always remember from that 3-day span. One is the pure elation of everyone's face and everyone just in feeling like they were a part of the induction of not just you, but Mike Stefanik and Red Farmer. Everyone was just genuinely happy for others. It just you could feel that. It was palpable. The other thing is, man, the Junior Nation would show up. And I mean, some of them came in from long distances. And I didn't expect that. I didn't know that people were going to be coming from out of town to be there. And they were loud and rowdy and supportive, and they were very much, their presence was felt. And I love the dynamic in while you're giving your speech, you come off of the script and the speech because they're people that you're reacting to in the moment. It was a beautiful moment. The third thing is, and you and I have not talked about this. We purposely try not to have conversations so we can save it for the podcast. But what was your
good special team
thought to the Dwight Yoakam party? It was like that wasn't a public event, of course, but like I always was, that was something we tried to keep hidden from you. We tried to keep it as a surprise, and then Dwight Yoakam shows up. And
extra point attempt is good.
What were your thoughts behind that?
I love a good party. I don't need a big reason to party.
Right.
So I'm always down. But the great thing about that, the great thing about the party that we had the day after the ceremony was that there were so many people that came from so far to be there. When me and Amy got married, that was probably the very first time where the two families had been in the same place at one time. And you never, you're always, I enjoy this out of watching those two families who had never met, that are from two different places in the country, interact, right? And meet and talk. And see, it's fun to see who strikes up a friendship and who gets along and who ends up talking a lot and spending some time around each other throughout the weekend. And that to me is kind of the same thing when we had this party. There was a lot of Texans there. There was a lot of people from my NASCAR family, a lot lot of people from my actual family, right? And it's fun to see them in the same place because you don't see that very often. It was fun to see them talk. I ain't seen you in a long time.
He was looking for a place to run, but all those places were filled up with guys waiting to tackle him.
That happen in that room, and friendships that rekindle, and people that hadn't seen each other in a long time. And your induction to the Hall of Fame is what's creating this opportunity, right? It's a great feeling. And so that's kind of what the party felt like to me. But then you also. I'm a big Dwight Yoakam fan. Have been for a very long time. He's a great singer, actor. He came up to me and we got to meet in Fontana years ago. It might have been my last year in NASCAR. So I got I got that moment of meeting him. That was really cool to meet him in the bus lot that day before the race. But I've never seen him live. So he comes and plays. It was awesome. So he plays. It was great. He sounded great. The songs were great. We stood right up front and center and rocked as hard as we could.
I really like
then
the
we got
way
to go
these
talk
guys
to
go
him
after the
afterwards.
quarterback.
And
They
he
have a
was
bunch of effort guys
happy
out
to
there
have
that have
us
nonstop
there.
motive.
He seemed thrilled to be with us that night, which, you're happy that you're glad that person who came all that way to do that job is happy to be there. Right. Yeah, I mean, they're a performer, but he was also enjoying his experience, and that meant a lot to me as well. They say not to meet your heroes or people that you admire, celebrities that you follow, because you might end up being disappointed. I certainly wasn't disappointed.
At the 48-yard
line.
Spread the
and I
ball
knew
around and make sure the defense knows that they have to cover every receiver.
He was super happy to have been there that night, and it was a special night, and I couldn't imagine my wife and my sister Kelly and so many people, probably you and Tony and who knows, everybody I'm sure had a role in pulling all of that together. And it was great to have Red there and Mike's Van's wife. We invited all of their group to come and join and enjoy the Red jumps out there and is dancing on the dance floor. And I think Mike's wife came out there for a bit. And, so it was cool, that was a great way to
difficulty stopping him on third down.
On the weekend. But should we go ahead? Is Red here?
Let's get Red. We can talk about the dancer.
We could.
We can actually talk with the dancer.
So let's bring Red Farmer in. He's come a long way to join us today. He was just up here a couple weeks ago getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and turned around and came back for an opportunity to be a guest here on the show. Red Farmer.
Probably the 5-yard line. First down.
There's so many limbs flying and body parts moving around. So you just tackle whatever you can and you grab everything that's moving. Sometimes you get a handful of mass.
There he is. Hey, Red. Come on in here, buddy. Have a seat. How you doing today?
Tomorrow, Davis takes the handoff on the counter.
Take it off. Take your jacket off. Yeah, it's a little warm in here.
Make yourself comfortable.
Down inside the 15.
Hal, have you been wearing that Hall of Fame jacket every day?
Let's go.
The Seahawks
yeah.
come out in the fourth
It's cold, ain't it?
direction.
Have a seat. Put your headphones on. Well, how you doing, Red?
So on third down,
right
they're
now.
looking to get it to the 8-yard line
Pretty up
or
here. I
further.
thought it may be snowing, but it's okay.
It's cold out there. I know that. So you came into town, spent the night to come be on our podcast. Just a couple weeks ago, you were up here in Charlotte getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then you went back home for a little bit. How have you been enjoying your few weeks now as a Hall of Famer?
Well, it had a lot of attention. A lot of people asking about questions about it, and I told them I said, well, it's a once in a lifetime thing. So I really enjoyed it. Had a great time. I was really honored to be able to go in with you in this thing. Since
the defense can't get
I've
any
known Ralph
penetration,
and Dale, both of them. So
is in the end zone.
And a couple of years ago, I went into the other Hall of Fame with Jeff Gordon. So I've had two of them up here that really meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I'm. We're gonna jump back quite a ways. Born in 1932.
The extra point attempt is good.
You started racing. What was your first race?
My first race was in Opelika, Florida in 1948, same year that Bill France started NASCAR.
Right. And so you're all the way down in Florida. I don't think of Florida as a motorsports area. Even back in 48, but there was a lot of tracks in Florida.
Well, in 48, really, we had Hialeah Speedway, Medley Speedway, Hollywood Speedway, and West Palm Beach. That's the track that I raced on back in the 40s and early 50s. So it's kind of a combination. Hollywood was a quarter-mile track, and Hialeah was almost a third-mile track. Medley was a third mile. Both of them was flat. But then West Palm Beach was a half-mile dirt track back then. That's the reason I learned to drive both of them. I'd race Hialeah or Hollywood on Saturday, and I'd go to West Palm Beach and run dirt Sunday.
So they were paved and dirt tracks back then.
the 30.
And you drove modified cars. Is that what
10.
you raced on?
Well, there wasn't no class when we raced. It was just race cars.
You just showed up with a car you bought.
Yeah, run what you brung.
What was your first race car?
Special teams play.
A 34 Ford with a flathead engine in it.
And how did you get that car?
A buddy of mine, Keith Davis, that I ran around with, come to me one day and said, Red, my daddy got a race car going to run Opelika next week. Said he had a little run out with his driver. Wanted to know if I'd drive it. I said, a race car. I didn't know what a race car was. But I had a little 37 Ford that he said, I ran around in, and he said I was kind of wild on the road with it then, so he thought maybe I could make a race car driver. So I got in the car. We went to Opelika, Florida. There wasn't no racetrack then. It was an abandoned airfield. And we went down one straightaway, turned through the dirt, got on the other straightaway. It was coming back the other direction, and run back and then run across the dirt to get back over. So we had two straightaways of asphalt and both turned to dirt.
Was it still a functioning airport?
No, it was an abandoned airport.
Second down and 6 to go.
I drove the car and come down the straightaway too fast and got in the corner too hard, and I flipped the car. It rolled over once or twice and landed on 4 wheels, and the motor kept running. And I kept on racing and finished the race. And after that, I thought, that's the most fun I ever had, and I haven't ever stopped yet.
Flag down, and here's the call.
So the car was literally just like you'd come off the street, right?
Yeah, we had no roll cages or nothing. I mean, they just basically just street cars.
And I've looked at a lot of pictures of my grandfather Ralph and driving them old coupes and like that car sitting right there on the table, right? And trying to imagine like what a car like that would drive like. You've drove more modern cars. You still race today. So, I mean, help me understand. Tell me how driving a car like that felt.
Well, these cars were weird. We didn't have no power steering or anything like that. You really don't know about setting the caster and camber on the cars, where they would turn or how to change springs around or where they would do it. They had a straight front axle in them with a leaf springs in the rear.
At the 41,
and you just more or less had to manhandle. My tires was probably 5 inches wide, those stock tires on and stuff like that. We didn't know about setting air pressure and all that stuff, In fact, I learned more from a fellow that come down in the late 40s, maybe 1950, 51, when the Opelika Speedway they made actually a little dirt track.
Especially in the scene.
Instead of running the Air Force Base, so we went to a little round dirt track up there, and Ralph Moody come down with a red car with a white X on it, if I remember correctly. Of course, this is 75 years ago. But anyway, he had a red car with an X on it, and he kicked our butt bad. And because Ralph knew about chassis and handling, and we didn't really. He just really embarrassed us the way he ran. I think he won about 8 features in a row by coming down the Opelika racing. But I got pretty friendly with Ralph and learned a lot from him. I asked questions, and
on the 6-yard line,
and he taught me a lot. Ralph Moody. So, and I think in '53 is when I ran into it. He really helped me when I got to Daytona to run my first race on the beach course in 1953.
Yeah. So you also ran speed.
The lone back.
Is that true?
Yes, I ran hydro, 266 hydros at Pelican Harbor Yacht Club.
When did you do that?
At the 48-yard line.
That was in the early 50s too. My father, when I got married, my father-in-law had 2 boats that he raced in Pelican Harbor Yacht Club.
What do these boats look like?
They were hydros like they run now. They were hydros with Chevrolet motors in them.
Motor in the back? Like right behind the driver?
At the 41.
No, the motor was in front.
The chains on third down here. They have to get it to the 40.
Yeah, the motor was in front then.
Shows
all that stuff was like rear-engine cars. They didn't come along until later on.
I got you. How fast did this boat go?
Somewhere between 80 and 100 miles an hour.
Did you? I mean, so tell me about how long did you race boats?
Well, I just run them on the weekend for the fun of it. Because they go over and race these things and come in. They give you a little ashtray for first and second place and stuff. That's all you got to lose no money in. So I do that on the weekend just for the fun of it. After I race the dirt cars on Saturday night, I go at Pelican Harbor Yacht Club and run the boats with my father-in-law.
But whose idea was that? You went from going down to Florida to race, and you didn't know anything about it. They're saying you're kind of a wild driver. You might be good at racing. Now you've been bitten by the racing bug. But where did boat racing even come in? Who gave you that idea?
Well, like I said, I got married in 1950. And this was my father-in-law. He's the one that had the boat.
So he had them. And he's like, you should try this.
Yeah. Well, the same way, he also had some Jaguars, and I ran one of his Jaguars, AK-120, in Albany, Georgia, in road racing back then. So,
Albany, Georgia. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What was that race track?
It was actually an Air Force base too.
Oh yeah.
So,
and it was an endurance race.
Yeah.
How many hours?
Play action with the throw.
No, I don't really remember that.
You had a couple drivers?
No.
You ran the whole thing.
Just actually, me and my father-in-law took turns driving the car.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So you and your father-in-law are swapping in and out of this Jaguar. Have you ever ran an endurance race since?
Number 6 comes in to attempt the point.
No, I ran some race that felt like endurance race.
Oh my God!
Is good.
All right, so you're known as part of the Alabama gang, and a lot of people touch on this. And I didn't know this until I was quite a bit older. When I was a teenager and hearing about the Alabama gang, and I thought every one of y'all were born in Alabama, but you weren't from Alabama. You transplanted.
Oh yeah, I was born in Nashville, Tennessee.
So how do you get from Nashville down to
when I was like around 14 years old, my mom and dad split up, and my mom's parents ran an apartment building in Miami, Florida. So my mom and me and my sister packed up and went to Miami to live with her mom and dad.
Okay.
And that's how I got to Florida down there.
So your dad stayed in Nashville?
Yeah.
Did you continue a relationship with him?
Not really.
No.
When we split up, it was kind of a sorry deal. Really was, and you're that young and your parents split up. It's quite a thing.
This is one of these cases
we moved to Florida to get away from it.
Really?
Yeah. So I didn't.
Moving up to the line of
I didn't carry on with it too much.
With the ball inside.
But years later. Couple of years later, he come down to Florida.
Shannon comes up to make the play
with us
at the 16-yard line.
I was probably the only one that had anything to do with him when he did come down there.
What was his intention? What did he go down to Florida for? Try to rekindle a relationship?
I guess that's what it was.
Get off to the back.
I think really he just.
Is there on the stop at the 8.
I guess that's what he came down there to try to do. I guess try to do it, but it didn't work out.
Having none of it.
Moving up to the line of scrimmage.
Got it.
The big problem, he had a drinking problem.
I got you. And that was difficult for you.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
So my mom, my sister had nothing to do with him, and
this is a good play by the offense in the red zone.
Visit him once in a
the
while.
wide receiver is going to break away right here and come up with a catch and a touchdown.
And so
this is a good special
he
teams
passed
play.
away when you were 19.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And how did that affect you? Because when I looked, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know anything about your personal life and your family life until we were going to have you as a guest on the show. And when I look at you, and then in your life and how successful it's been, I'd have never known that you had this. That you had some difficulties and some challenges as a young guy, right?
Yeah.
But so when he passed away when you were 19. Was that a setback at all, or how did that affect you in that moment?
They
well,
one
at the
quick
time,
score, and then some more. Let's move this football.
When he passed away, he was a wino. He was really in the gutter from drinking, and I was the only one that actually went to his funeral. And
the Seahawks line up in a 4-3.
Kind of mixed emotions. I was
by the receiver on the
glad to see it go.
With a lot of open room.
I knew it was going to end up meant to nothing. So
be patient out there.
When he did pass away, I guess it was some kind of a relief.
But don't force it.
Get out of that burden, and my mom and my sister and them, could close it out too. So.
And what'd your mom end up doing in Florida? How was her life?
Well, Mom, she was kind of support me and my sister, and she actually had never had a job or anything, and she went to work for a grocery store.
From the gun.
She was working in the meat department a lot, and actually She ended up a couple of years later married one of the butchers down there that was doing the meat, which was really a great man.
Big passing down right here.
He died of
what it's all
cancer
about.
too. So later on, but my mom was, struggling trying to support both of us, and then of course I worked and tried to do most things. I delivered papers in the morning before I had went to school. Then I went to school and practiced basketball before the school started. And then after school, I'd go bag groceries and stuff. So trying to help Mom.
How long did you deliver papers?
I don't know. Several years, I guess. Yeah. But then, you delivered papers, you had a sack over your shoulders, all, and you had to go walk up on steps and put it behind the screen door on the front porch. You didn't just throw it up in the front yard like they do nowadays. So, so I just carried them, on my shoulders, whether it was rain or snow, and delivered those papers, trying to make some extra money. And then, like I said, I bagged groceries in the afternoon after school to make some money. And I even tried to caddy in once in a while, carried some bags on a golf course race, eat holes for $2. So, just
nice job so far on third down for the offense.
Poor, I guess you call it. So,
no one near his receiver. And he's
we still had a good home life with my mom and my sister.
Watch where there's movement up
when you started racing and driving,
send your man into
what
the
jobs did you What job did you maintain? What job did you keep?
When I started racing, I I started going to. When I got to around 19, actually after I've been racing for a while, I went to electrical school.
You can't make any mistakes
and after
down
work.
Here.
So I was working, and like I said, still bagging groceries and doing stuff like that, and odd jobs. My wife's uncle was an electrician, and he got me wanting to be an electrician, so I was trying to better myself. So I went to electrical school at Ladies Hopkins Vocational School 3 nights a week after work, and become an electrician, and I become a journeyman. I got my ticket in the 249 local.
Now this is exactly how to get
the
ball.
When I started
just get in behind
doing
the center guard,
the embargo with
Cuba,
they had that trouble down there. The electrical work pretty well just stopped.
Wow.
And
better kick it here.
I was trying. I had a wife and 3 kids by then, and had a grandmother that lived with us, so I had a lot of mouths to feed. I was making maybe $35 a week unemployment, at that time, because electrical work was quit. So that's when Bobby Allison come down to me and said, told me, Red said they tracked up in Alabama. Said they pay good money and they're good track. You really love them. So I got to thinking. I said, well, I got nothing else to do, so I loaded up my old 36 Chevrolet behind the station wagon, an open wheel one axle trailer, and headed for Birmingham. But then there was no interstate, and I had to go up Highway 20. It took me 27 hours to get there, towing that car up there, them 2 lanes all the way to Birmingham. And I got up to Birmingham and went to Dixie Speedway out in Midfield, little quarter-mile outbank track. And at that time, they was running the 34 Ford with the Chevrolet V8 Chevys. It was Hillman fuel injectors on alcohol, straight drive, had to push them off, all the cars up there. So I pulled into the track exit there and got up in the car on the trailer and cranked it up, and they like to die laughing. Then I put it in gear and backed off the trailer, and I looked at it, and then I had a 4-barrel carburetor on the car, and they were just dying laughing at me coming in there like that. Well, anyway, I had no points, so I had to start in the rear of the features first night. So. But we learned down in Medley and Hiley and all those, our tracks were flat asphalt tracks. This track had some bank to it. So when they dropped the green flag, they all dove. I was starting about 20th spot, 24th spot, somewhere in there. They all headed to the bottom, one lane. So I said, man, that's crazy. So I just went up on the outside. I got up in the 3rd lane next to the wall. And I passed the whole field and won the feature from dead last. They stopped laughing.
They ain't laughing now.
Yeah, but like I said, they all was running in the bottom. To me, running in the bottom, I said, can't pass nobody to single file. So I just went to the outside and started passing them. And running on that bank track to me was like driving down the interstate. It was just simple. So I passed the whole field and went up there after the race and got $300. I like that.
$300.
I've been having $35 weekly checks from unemployment. Here I get $300. And Bob Harvard come down. He says, Red, we going to run Montgomery tomorrow night. This is Friday night. He said, we were going to run Montgomery tomorrow night. Said, I promoted down there too. How about coming down and stopping there? I was going back to Miami. Said, okay. So I went down to Montgomery, half-mile track, had the same thing. All of them died last. Dropped the green flag, ended the race. I won it too. I got another $300. So I got $600 in my pocket from 2 races and been living on 35 unemployment checks.
That's when you
Man, this is great. Anyway, I drove all the way back to Miami. I had no idea you leave me Friday. We can come back again. But that's actually the way I started racing in Alabama.
When you come home with that $600 in your pocket, what did your wife think?
She couldn't believe it. You know, that $600. So we paid off all our bills, you know, and got a bunch of groceries and everything.
So that's the lure to go back to Alabama and start racing up there. Are you making that? Do you start making that long trip?
Yeah, I started making that trip. In fact, I went back and forth several times. And like I said, I remember that first trip up there. I really didn't have any money, any extra money for gas and everything. And I stopped in a truck stop, and at that time there was a lot of semis and trucks in there hauling watermelons and peaches. So to make a long story, I borrowed some watermelons and peaches off of some of them trucks in the middle of the night to eat on, and made the trip eating on that watermelon and peaches that I got. So it's kind of ironic. I know Bobby and Donnie did that one time too. They were short money and they bought a bushel of peaches and lived on them for about 2 days, just eating those peaches for breakfast, lunch, and supper.
Exactly how you execute the play pattern.
Red, help us ignorant. There's car people listening to this, and then there's ignorant folks like me. What exactly were the people at Dixie and Montgomery laughing at? Why were they laughing at you?
Because that I had a carburetor on gasoline, and I had a clutch and a transmission, and I could crank up my car and move it. And they was like those sprint cars. They didn't have batteries, and they had no. They was straight drive. They pushed them off, got them cranked like a sprinter. They was straight drive. They had alcohol burning injectors, but they all had power for straightaway. But none of them knew how to get through the corners. I didn't spin the wheels and cross it up coming off the corner like they did. They had so much horsepower. They was crossed up going through the corners. And I just got up on the outside and passed the whole bunch while they would sit there trying to get through the corners. I was still running almost flat out.
We were wide open. They're throttling, they're feathering it and trying to get through the corners because they got so much horsepower. Yeah, you're just passing them wide open.
That's right. I didn't have to slow down for the corners like they did because my car had it come off of a flat track and they had a little bank to it, you know, and my car just went around. Like I said, it's like me driving down the interstate.
Right. So when you go back, do you notice that they're changing the way they race you, or they're not laughing anymore? They know you've come in there and won the money. I know when somebody comes in and wins the money, takes the money, it changes things. So what happened? Did you couldn't have continued to doing that without them changing the way they did stuff, right?
Well, they try to learn that. I guess they figured out they got to learn how to get through the corner better.
Right.
But same way when I came back up a year or so later at the BIR, which was a dirt track at that time, and it was a 5/8 mile racetrack. And there's a driver named Wild Bill Layton that was winning everything, sponsored by a big lumber company, and he had, I think, 6 carburetors on his motor and all that stuff, and horsepower, and come up there, and they said, well, Bill Layton wins everything up here. I said, well, okay. Anyway, he won the first feature that night, and I ran second. I come back and I won the next 7 races in a row. The fastest because when I outrun him, he goes back and gets more horsepower and gets handling worse off the corner because he's spinning more. And I didn't have enough horsepower, and I could almost run flat out all the way around the racetrack. And they started to figure out they got to learn how to handle mostly. But, you know, and Bobby, Donnie, and myself would come up. But when he got together,
so the challenge goes for Noah.
Started racing in 60, 61, 63 like that. You know,
as it turns out,
we just started pretty well dominating the racing up in there, winning everything. That's what started the Alabama game.
Number
like
82
61.
goes in
It was
motion.
real ironic. We went to Bristol. They had about 60, 70 cars there. And all of them was 34 Ford Coupes mostly. And we come in there with 3 sedans. We had 3 sedans.
Watch where there's movement up front. Look for the hole and send your man into the
Qualified.
secondary.
We qualified 1, 2, 3. With them 3 sedans, and I think was Coupes behind us. And it was the 200 lapper at Russell, same track we got today. Just had dirt, had asphalt on it, that's cement. And the race started, and anyway, made a long story short, I won the race, and Bobby ran second. And Donnie was running third, but he had, I think, dropped a valve or a rock arm or something. So we ran 1, 2 there. And, you know, we ran pretty well 1, 2, 3 at I don't know how many racetracks.
They got to find a way to give him a little more time back there.
Because we worked on him and more we did speed. We got to get through the
He just didn't have the time to
so,
decide where he wanted to go
it
with
was kind of ironic. That pretty well started the deal with the Alabama game because we ran 1, 2, 3. I think it was 64. We finished first, second, and third in the point standings at Birmingham. We finished first, second, and third at Huntsville. We first, second, and third at Montgomery. We just pretty well dominated. And of course we actually qualified. And I knew if I was going to win a race, Bobby and Donnie was one I'd have to outrun if I'd go win. We were friends and we helped each other as much as you can. It's like brothers almost when we tried to work on the cars. But when we got on the racetrack, it was every man for himself. There was no hold bars between us because we all had expenses and families to feed. So we was all out to win races, but it was kind of ironic. It was somewhere in North Carolina. I don't know where it was. We was coming over. We'd already won a bunch of races, and then Jack Ingram, I think, was standing down in the pits buying pit passes, and we came over the hill. And we always traveled like a bunch of gypsies, I guess, bumper to bumper. 3 of us followed each other down the road with open wheel trailers, and Jack Ingram looked up there and saw us coming over the hill. He said, "Here comes that damn Alabama king again." And the reporter, I think, heard it and put it in the paper the next day that something about the Alabama gang, and it's stuck. It's been that way ever since.
That's where it started.
Yep.
The Dale Jr. Download is made possible by Valvoline. Let's take a quick second to tell you about Valvoline. Since its founding over 150 years ago, Valvoline and its scientists have been innovating, creating, and reinventing formulas to create products like the first racing oil and the first high-mileage oil. Valvoline is the only motor oil with a dedicated engine lab where they can run specialized engine tests and standardized engine tests right in their own facility. And this allows scientists more freedom and flexibility to innovate as they have results right at their fingertips. Valvoline Extended Protection Full Synthetic, their newest formula, offers ultimate protection designed to extend the life of your engine. Why do you need it? Well, you may not think you are a severe driver, but short trips, towing, extreme temps, and heavy loads put extra pressure on your engine. Valvoline Extended Protection is specially formulated with dual defense additive technology, which combines an innovative additive boosted with a fortified detergent system. All Valvoline oils exceed industry standards to provide the ultimate protection for every engine on the road. That's Valvoline.
They need to keep some extra blockers in, either a tight end.
So you guys you and Bobby and Donnie are racing. Did you stay? I mean, did you move to Alabama eventually? I mean, you're making that trip up there, like you said, 20-some hours. You get to these racetracks on the weekends. Or when do you move to Alabama?
Yeah, well, back in about 61, it was, I moved my family up to Alabama to Birmingham. And Bobby and them, they brought their families up there too. And
how far was Bobby and Donnie and them from you in Florida? Or how far did y'all live apart? Y'all would meet at Montgomery or meet at Dixie, right, or whatever. You'd meet at these racetracks on the weekend in Alabama when you were living in Florida. Did you go over to their place? I mean, try to help me geographically understand.
No, not really. We was actually pretty well independent when we was down there running there at Hialeah and Medley and Hollywood Speedway. We really didn't become close and real close friends till we got to Alabama.
Yeah.
And
then y'all finally decided that, why don't we just move here?
Well, the racing was so good, and we was making pretty good money at the time.
Where in Alabama did you decide to move to?
Birmingham. Well, I think I lived up in Fairfield Highlands for a while, in a little small place, a little one-bedroom house and stuff. Because we didn't have any money, and then eventually we ended up in Hialeah. Bobby had a house on 140 Church Street, and I lived at 143 Fowles. But actually, the streets were parallel with each other.
This is a good special
and
team
Bobby's,
play.
my fence in my backyard, on the other side of the fence was Bobby's. We was on the next street, but we was actually neighbors.
Number 6
So,
comes in for the extra point.
The place I had about 3 acres, and
The point
the
after
back
is
fence
good.
I had back
Big.
there, and then the other side was Bobby. He was on the next street, but we was actually next door neighbors to it.
Really? So was that intentional?
Number 1 comes in
Huh?
to kick
Was that
off.
intentional that y'all lived close
No,
together?
it just worked out. I didn't realize it. I guess when I moved into the house that Bobby was going to be my next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Then Donnie lived down in Bessemer
This
at the
one is
time
handled by
before he moved to Highland.
Got to
keep distance with Donnie. You don't want him to he'll
They
a
have to
firecracker
stay
there,
focused,
right?
Be efficient and get the
You
ball
and
into the
you and
end zone.
Donnie and Bobby become best friends.
Yes, actually, it was
Here on
really
first down. It's a
ironic.
off
At one
balance
time,
throw. He finds his
when we was
man.
running
And
BIR,
he steps out of bounds at the
we all
22-yard
lived in
line.
one
First and
apartment.
10.
We had an apartment over there about a mile from the racetrack up on the second floor. It only had one bedroom. And all three of us was living in this one apartment. We took turns who got the bedroom, who got the couch, and who got the floor. So we rotated around for a while. And had a lady that lived on the other side of the hall. She would do our washing and clothes for us.
The
and pay her
Patriots
for it.
line up
So
in a 5-receiver
that's
set
how
position.
pretty
There
close
he
we
goes,
got,
and he's pushed out
living
of bounds
together. And
at
then
the 32.
we didn't have no
Defense
garage,
gets
and
it.
a guy
Don't
named
forget
Joe
to
Moore
use
had
misdirection
a Shell
and play
gas
action
station
to
at
keep
the
them
corner
off
of
balance on
BIR,
passing down.
and he let us park our
Justice
cars
looking to
in
pass,
up
lined
next
up
to
with
the
5
fence
wide
outside of the
receivers.
gas
Deep
station.
throw.
And
What a catch. Right
we'd go
is
there
for the
Monday
tackle
morning
at
and
the
back our cars off the
16-yard
trailer,
line. Ball on
and
the
out there work
16-yard
there
line.
next to his gas station, next to the wash rack, and
Great
work on our cars,
offensive show.
out there in the
Big point
sun.
totals
and
and just
like
touchdowns
that.
separating
If
the
the weather
two
got
teams.
bad and he had nobody in the wash rack, he let one car pull it in and do the work.
This
So
game is
whichever one
presented
had
by
to
the authority of the
have the most
National
work
Football
done
League
to
and
him
the
with the
EA
motor
Sports.
work.
Any public
They got the
interest
garage, and the
broadcast
other two
will be
still
used
stayed
for
outside
the
the
descriptions
garage
and
to work.
accounts of this game without the
That sounds
express
so
written
cool.
permission
Imagine
of EA
driving by
Sports
that
is
place.
prohibited.
Listen,
This is
I don't have to
Seeing them race
imagine.
cars out there.
I mean, I'm from Birmingham, and everything you're saying right now, and I'm not making this about me. I'm just sitting here soaking it in because BIR is the first place I ever went to a race. In fact, you raced against my cousin, Henry Brook.
Oh, yeah. Henry.
You know Henry?
Yeah.
Henry,
He still got a lumber company.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we connected with him just a year ago, while we were doing our Lost Speedway show. And so, like, I know where the fairgrounds is. I know what the neighborhood is, and I can just see you and Bobby and Donnie. I mean, that was just a heck of a. You say, imagining that atmosphere, man. This was a racing town back then, man. The BIR was it. And
Yep.
it's fascinating to me to hear you talk about how the money was so much better. I don't know why that is. Why was the money so much better in Alabama to begin with than Florida? You wouldn't guess that if you didn't know any better. But it kind of makes me think that BIR back then had it going on. Dixie, Montgomery, all that. That was such a hotbed for racing. And it also makes me sad to know that it all went away.
Well, me too. I would just, if I think our mayor, Langford, if they'd have got him in prison 1 year earlier, we'd still have BIR.
Yeah.
So
they wouldn't have taken a wrecking ball to it.
No.
Right.
No. So BIR, that was something. It was dirt when I first got up here.
Yeah.
The first 10 races, and then Tom Glore got it and put some kind of gravel on it, tried to make it an asphalt track, so it went through the things, but it ended up being a unique racetrack because it was a flat 5/8 mile and it was real fast. And if you could learn to get around BIR, that flat 5/8 mile racetrack, when we went to other places like Greenville, Pickens, or Nashville or Bristol, they would all had bank tracks. And after learning to get around a flat racetrack, it was simple for us to get around these bank racetracks. And maybe that's one reason we won so many races. And Like we always said, if you could race BIR, you could go anywhere and win races. Because if we go to Montgomery or Jacksonville, Pensacola, anywhere like that, we was good.
Red, you joined the military during the Korean War. Why'd you join the military?
No, I actually, this is the way the government worked. When I got there, went in the Army in 53, of course, you filled out a form what you were doing. And of course,
Did you get drafted?
Uh-huh.
Were you drafted?
Yeah, I was drafted.
What was that like? You got a letter in the mail?
Yeah, I got a letter in the mail. In fact, when I went in, I was leading the point standings in NASCAR, and I didn't really realize it at the time, but I was leading the point standings when I got drafted and went in the Army.
When you got that letter, what did you think?
I didn't really know. It really kind of floored me. There was no way I could get out of it. I guess I was going to have to do it. So, I mean, it was a war. So I said, well, I guess go do my part. So it was real ironic. I went in there and filled out the papers, whatever you like to do, this, that, and the other. Anyway, I went in and I was a mechanic. I wanted to do that kind of stuff, work. What did? They sent me to Blacksburg, Virginia to learn how to be a medic.
Oh.
A corpsman. I went through 4 months of medical training to be a corpsman and going to send me overseas with a cross on my shoulder, and be a medic man. So my orders come down, and what did they do? They send me over to Germany, to bomb hold of Germany, in an artillery division as a mechanic. Here I went through 4 months of training to be a medic, and they sent me somewhere else and doing something else I wasn't even trained for.
Yeah.
So I sat over there in the artillery division. Was in the atomic cannon deal. That was when they had this monstrous cannon that must have been 40 yards long that would shoot a shell as big as you are, 32 miles. And they had a A and a B unit. They pick it up. They had these units that 4 people sat side by side in the seat, and they had A unit and a B unit that come in and pick up this atomic cannon, and the 2 units would go down the road. And they'd go out there and they had bulldozers and knock the place down real level. And they had set that atomic cannon down, and they had them aimed at all the different bridges and main highways along the Russian front. So when something broke out, they could start destroying all this passage that goes in there. So it was kind of ironic. So I was a mechanic there and had to go. It was in a truck that I had to follow the convoys and stuff. When something broke down, we had to fix it. So
yeah. So what was your? So you weren't on. So what part of Europe did you spend most of your time in?
Germany mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that way, I played football for the Third Army. So
over in Germany.
Yeah, in Germany.
There was football going on.
Oh yeah, there was all your different ones had it at the time, but the Third Army, there was thousands of people went out for it. I think there was 30-something people went out for my position, but I ended up made first string end. I played end for the Third Army, and we won the Rhine-Main Conference. We won like 12 straight games, undefeated. They flew us to Paris to play the Air Force championship team, and we kicked their butt bad.